Hi, welcome to my channel, Math Made Easy with Laurel. I'm Laurel, and in this video, we're going to look at adding fractions. So let's say we have two pies, and each pie is cut into 8 even sized pieces. And let's say you ate one piece out of this pie. That means you ate 1/8 of that pie. Let's say you ate 3 pieces out of this pie, which is also divided into 8 pieces. That means you ate 3/8 of that pie. And if you want to add those two amounts together to find out the total amount of pie that you ate, then you simply add your numerators. You keep the denominator and you add the numerators. So you would have eaten 4/8 of the pie, and we've learned how to reduce that. 4 divides evenly into the numerator and the denominator. So if we divide the numerator by 4, that gives us 1. We can divide the denominator by 4. 8 divided by 4 gives us 2. So in total, you ate 1/2 of a pie. And you can see if we put one piece, added it onto this pie, you can see that that would be half the pie. Let's do another example. So let's say we have 1/4 of a pie, and we have 3 pieces out of 8, so we have 3/8 of a pie. And if we wanted to add those two numbers together, we can't do what we just did yet because we have different denominators. In order to add fractions, you must have the same denominator. You can't add them otherwise. So what we're going to do is we're going to change 1/4 to an equivalent fraction with 8 as the denominator. So if I had 1/4 and I wanted to know how many 8ths that was, I can multiply 4 by 2 to get 8. I do the same thing to the numerator. So 1/4 is equal to 2/8. And you could hopefully see that if I were to divide this pie into 8 pieces, 1/4 of the pie will be equivalent to 2/8. So what we have here is 2/8 plus 3/8. Now that I have a common denominator, I can combine those numerators, 2 plus 3, over my denominator of 8. You do not add the denominators, you only add the numerators. So that gives us an answer of 5/8. Let's do some more examples. In this example, I have 1/2 plus 1/3, and I need a common denominator. So I'm looking for a number that both 2 and 3 divide into evenly. And that number is 6. So I need to express these, or I need to write these as fractions with 6 as the denominator. So if we take a look at 1/2, and we want to know how many 6 it is, in order to get 6, we have to multiply 2 by 3. Whatever you multiply the denominator by, you must multiply the numerator by the same number. So that would give us 3/6. So 1/2 is 3/6. We do the same thing with 1/3. We want to find out how many 6 1/3 is equal to. So in order to get a 6 in this denominator, I had to multiply 3 by 2. And whatever you multiply the denominator by, you have to multiply the numerator by the same thing. So 1/3 is equal to 2/6. Now that I have a common denominator, I can add these fractions. It would be 3 plus 2 over 6, which is 5/6. In my next example, I'm adding 3/4 plus 5/6. We do not have the same denominator. Now, one way of getting a common denominator is to multiply these two numbers. So you could multiply 4 times 6, and you know that you would have a number that both of these would divide into evenly, and that number would be 24. But when you're working with fractions, you want to look for what's called the lowest common denominator. So it's the lowest number that both denominators will divide into evenly. Well, we know 4 divides evenly into 12, and 6 divides evenly into 12. So we can write both of these fractions with 12 as the denominator and then we will be able to add them. So 3/4. In order to get an equivalent fraction with 12 as the denominator, I multiply by 3. 4 times 3 is 12. Whatever I multiply the denominator by, I multiply the numerator by the same thing. So 3 times 3 is 9. So 3/4 is the same as 9/12. We do the same thing with the other fraction. So 5/6, I want to know how many 12ths that is. In order to change 6 to 12, I multiply by 2. And whatever I do to the denominator, I have to multiply by the same thing in the numerator. So 5 times 2 is 10. Now that I have a common denominator, I keep that denominator and I add 9 plus 10, which is 19. That's an improper fraction because its value is greater than 1. And in order to change it to a mixed number, 12 goes into 19 one time with 7 left over. So when I add these two numbers, I get 1 and 7/12. In this example, we have a mixed number, which means we have a whole number and a fractional part together. So we have 2 and 1/8 plus 1 and 3/4. You need to understand that 2 and 1/8 means 2 plus 1/8. So it means 2 plus 1/8. And then we add 1 plus 3/4. And if you understand that and think of it that way, it means that you can add your whole number separate from your fractions. So we could go 2 plus 1 plus 1/8 plus 3/4. We know that 2 plus 1 is 3. And then now we have to add these fractions. We need a common denominator in order to add them. 8 is going to be the lowest common denominator. It's the lowest number that both 8 and 4 divide into evenly. So we keep 1/8. And in order to change 3/4 to 8ths, I multiply the denominator by 2. 4 times 2 gives me 8. So I have to do the same thing to the numerator. 3 times 2 is 6. Now I can add my fractions. They both have the same denominator, 8, so I keep that. 1 plus 6 is 7. And then the way I express 3 plus 7/8 is 3 and 7/8. Let's look at one more example. Again, we have mixed numbers, so we can think of that or even write it down as 3 plus 5/8 plus 2 plus 2/3. Then we can get the whole numbers together, 3 plus 2 plus, and now we have the fraction part, 5/8 plus 2/3. So we're going to add the whole numbers together. 3 plus 2 is 5. And in order to add my fractions together, I need a common denominator. In this example, the lowest number that both 8 and 3 divide into evenly is 24. So we need to change both of these fractions to equivalent fractions with 24 as the denominator. So for this fraction, I need to multiply by 3. 8 times 3 is 24. That means I have to multiply 5 times 3. 5 times 3 is 15. In this example, I need to multiply 3 times 8 to get 24. So I need to do the same thing to the numerator. 2 times 8 is 16. Now I can add those fractions. My denominator will be 24. 15 plus 16 is 31. Because this is greater than 1, I can't leave it as 5 and 31 over 24. So let's change this to a mixed number. 24 goes into 31 once. 1 times 24 is 24. When we subtract that from 31, we will get 7. So that's the remainder. So 5 plus 1 and 7 24ths. And remember, this is like 5 plus 1 plus 7 24ths. So I can add 5 plus 1 is 6. And then I can get rid of my addition sign, because when we see a fraction like this, we understand that that means addition. So 6 and 7 over 24 is the same as 6 plus 7 over 24, but we write it like this. If you were able to follow along with these examples, it means you're ready to try them on your own. So practice as many as you can.